ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਿਮਰਨਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਾਨ, Member of Parliament from Sangrur, giving details of the meeting we held in the Parliament Library today on the 19th of July 2023. Today, an all-party leaders meeting was convened in the library of the Parliament. All leaders of all the parties in India participated in this meeting. This meeting is held prior to the beginning of a new session of Parliament, which begins tomorrow on the 20th of July. I spoke on the STPC, the Sikh Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee, which was established by law in 1925. Its elections are to be held every 5 years, but we have not held elections to this House for the last 12 years, which means that the Sikhs are being deprived of their democratic rights. Next, I spoke about international and in India killings of Sikh leaders like Deep Singh Sidhu in Haryana, Musewal in Punjab, Avtar Singh Khanda in Britain, Ripudaman Singh Malik in Canada, Paramjeet Singh Panjwar in Islamic Pakistan, Niger in Canada, and others who are yet to fall into the hands of any agency that is after the killing Sikh leaders. Next, I spoke on the National Security Advisor, and I said in a parliamentary system, all factors that administer a country are responsible to Parliament, but the Chief of Law, IB, Military Intelligence, and the National Security Advisor are not responsible to Parliament, and they should be made responsible through a special committee of Parliament. I also said all these establishments, the National Security Advisor, Law, IB, etc., have secret service funds which are not audited, and these must be audited. Then I spoke on military matters and said that the Prime Minister had just gone to France and bought Rafales jet aircraft, which are not stealth aircraft, which Communist China has, Su-35s and Su-57. How will India compete with the stealth jets of Communist China and Islamic Pakistan? I also reminded the Defence Minister in this committee that the armed forces have no amphibious tanks or amphibious infantry vehicles, which are very, very necessary during the monsoon season, as we have seen that all of Haryana and Punjab are flooded. Then I spoke about the sorrow of the Ghaggar River, which causes so much loss and damage. Billions of dollars worth of grain are wasted and destroyed because Haryana, Punjab and the central government haven't sat together to plug any breaches which the Ghaggar River has. And I said this is very, very important. Next, I spoke on the UCC and said that our party would not support the UCC. And I also spoke that The Sikhs have no important post in the Union Cabinet of Premier Modi, and there is no Sikh judge in the Supreme Court, and there are no Sikh High Court judges in any of the states. It's total discrimination against the Sikhs, and as members of Parliament of a minority, I get no time to speak in Parliament, which is injustice meted out to a Sikh member of Parliament, a minority member who obviously doesn't have a majority because of his minority status. I also put it to the House, the committee, that lots of members of Parliament will be retiring next year, and their pensions must be equivalent to the pension of a retired secretary to the Government of India. It's not a question of money, but it is a question of status of a retired or former member of Parliament, because as a former member of Parliament he has to work double hard to get back into the Parliament, and he must have an equal status as the Secretary of India who retires, and we must respect retired members of Parliament. I wasn't given much time, but I said that the Swaminathan report should also be implemented, and for a lack of time, I couldn't say anything more. So, as a gist, I'm reporting to the Sikh nation what I said in this special committee of leaders of all the parties who will participate in debates beginning tomorrow on the 20th of July 2023. That is tomorrow. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Next, I spoke on the National Security Advisor, and I said in a parliamentary system, all factors that administer a country are responsible to Parliament, but the Chief of Law, IP, Military Intelligence, and the National Security Advisor are not responsible to Parliament, and they should be made responsible through a special committee of Parliament. I also said all these establishments, the National Security Advisor, Law, IP, etc., have secret service funds which are not audited, and these must be audited.